Peter Nelson is back from Sierra Leone with a progress report on an eco-tourist village project he's been involved with, employing local villagers on an island off the capital in Sierra Leone.
8 years ago, I found myself in the country during Ebola. As soon as the disease was over, I wanted to try and do something to bring more visitors, more people from outside to the country. So I've created a charity in the UK, and we've set out to build a tourism camp on what for me is a magical island. It's called Tasso Island. I'd been working with a local NGO, Karoma, who is the executive director of Island Aid, and he introduced me to the fact that the islands are some of the most neglected and impoverished parts of Sierra Leone. All of the inhabitants rely on fishing. They have very little else. The islands have no fresh water, very little land to grow food, so fishing is the vital lifeline. And Tasso is the biggest of the islands, just off the capital, and it has more than 5,000 people on it, all of whom depend on fishing. We've set up a camp. It's a tourist camp with 5 chalets and a very fine restaurant, because I believe the thing that they will be able to sell better than anything else is fish. So it's going to be the best fish restaurant in the west of Africa. And we're building what I'm calling cabins. They're actually a form of tent, but an upmarket tent. So we will be able to accommodate about 20 people at a time, and day visitors as well. And the concept is to employ only Sierra Leoneans. So we're training the people from the island. We have 14 ladies at the moment who are all being taught. It's the first job that any of them have ever had, and they're being taught how to look after, how to cook, how to do cleaning of the chalets. It's all completely new to them. Then we have a team who are doing security work and handyman craftsmanship. So we have a large local labour team, but we're also intending to take volunteers out from Europe, North America, particularly guests from the UK. And basically I'm trying to organise a series of work camps which will take place in the autumn this year, when we will be building boardwalks out into the mangrove swamps. We're going to provide fresh water for the first time for the children of Oku town by getting a large tank, about the size of one of those big road tankers you see running around, and connecting it up to the roof to get rainwater. So we've got a lot of projects in mind, and I'm looking for people with similar ideas, similar enthusiasm, to come out and help basically give the island a new start. All of the children, when they've reached the age of 11, have to go to the mainland to school, because they have only one primary school. Well, strictly 2 primary schools, but only one of them is funded by the government. The other is funded entirely by the community. It has no desks, it has no seats. The children just sit in the dirt, and that's how they do their education.
They have to get there by boat?
Yes, we have our own canoe, a 20-seater passenger canoe, which we've built for the purpose. But you see young men, boys, some of them as young as 12, 14, setting out at night to go fishing on their own in a dugout canoe, carrying their nets, heading out anything like a mile out into the open estuary into sea. It's very, very dangerous. Not all of them come back. So it's a hard life, very hard life indeed.
And you said that the island is really magical. What kind of things have you found on the island?
Why it's magical to me is because there is firstly no road traffic. You can get around on a motorbike, but the only way to move around is on foot. It consists of a lot of mangrove swamp where the seabirds congregate when the tide is in. It's actually a world, well, it's called an important bird area, which means that it's classified as one of the world's top areas for seabirds. But it's also known to be one of the locations which was at the very start of the slave trade. And the islanders are always unhappy that other places are quoted as being the origin of the slave trade, whereas in fact Tasso was almost certainly one of the first areas to be used by the British and the Portuguese back as far as the 1600s. And you ask me what I find exciting about the island. I noticed on Google Earth 2 months ago that the islanders had been clearing an area to grow some rice, and in the middle of it I could see what looked to me like earthworks. So we set off on an expedition 2 weeks ago. We went out to the location, and sure enough, there are massive earthworks on the site, which could only have been built as part of the early slave trade. And then, even better, we went into a section of forest that's not been cleared, because one of my colleagues, Ibrahim, told me he'd found a building in the forest. So we cut our way through with the machetes into this piece of the jungle, and there is a very large structure. It's 50 metres by 50 metres. It has two massive great doorways, so we found the original site of one of the earliest slave forts in Africa.
The Ebola crisis has finished.
Absolutely. The disease disappeared from West Africa more than a year ago, but the disease has been completely eradicated. It's completely safe to go back to West Africa.
Well, you've been back lots.
Absolutely, yes. I'm in and out of the country 7 or 8 times a year.
So for volunteers, what kind of things do you want people to be able to do?
Anybody who wants a 2-week holiday on the west coast of Africa. It can include a couple of days on one of the finest beaches anywhere in the world. It's called the No. 2 River Beach. Tasso itself, on our own site, has a lovely sandy beach, but the water's a bit muddy for swimming. All you hear in the morning is the lapping of the water and the bird song. We are trying to keep it absolutely like a magical desert island. So it's a very relaxing place to be, but I would like to invite people who have skills, plumber, bricklayer, mason, carpenters, people who like gardening. We're building a village garden in order to provide food for the camp. Got the skills. I'd like to spend 2 weeks doing something totally different. It wouldn't be a completely free holiday, but it would be a very cheap holiday and great fun. We have a website for the Island Project, and as each project is developed, we will be reporting those on the website.
Such an exciting project. Thanks so much, Peter.
Your sun shines above my head. Oh, Jah, just please help I succeed. For a bumper harvest is good enough.